Hi, good evening, and welcome to another episode of Meet the Populace. My name is Lady Vinkatavyani. I'm your host. Meet the Populace is a series of interviews conducted for the Children of the Dragon Facebook page and YouTube channel. It's my efforts to showcase the amazing people we have in the Midrealm and to help introduce them to a broader audience. Tonight we have with us Lady Lucretia Natta, and she's going to talk with us a little bit and tell us about herself. Good evening, Lucretia, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me here.
So why don't we start out with just tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, how long have you been in the SCA and whereabouts do you play?
My name is Lucretia Natta. I have been in the SCA for approximately 20 years now. I started just after, actually playing just after my daughter was born. And I play in, my home is the Canton of Rimsholt in the Barony of Andlecraig, region of Pentamere, Kingdom of the Middle.
So you got everybody covered there.
I do. Hey, we have lots of family.
Well, it's yet another happy Michigander.
Yes. Mundanely, I play Western Michigan is my home area. So,
well, welcome. So you were saying though that you've been in the SCA about 20 years. That's a good long period of time. How did you first learn about the SCA?
I originally learned about the SCA a few years before I actually joined, as hearing about parties at night at Border War. And so my first introduction was a couple years before I actually joined the SCA, and showing up at Bertha Brock Park in Ionia, Michigan, where Border War was held, and partaking in a lot of adult beverage fun was my original introduction to the SCA, was just showing up at a party. And that's how my first introduction came, and within a few years of just showing up at that event to have fun at night, I learned more about what the SCA was really about and became a member of the SCA.
So after you became a real member,
yes,
and not just an adult beverage member, what was your first event and what do you most remember about it?
My first event was Border War. Other than the couple times that I showed up just late at night to have fun with partying, my first event, I think it was my first event that we had a freak storm come through Ionia in the middle of court that ended up with us being worried that our tents were going to be blown away in a hailstorm and tornado threat. And we still had lots of fun. So that was a memorable first event, but we had a lot of fun and loved the introduction of watching the fighters and partaking in ANS classes and everything. So,
you know, I've actually heard a few stories now about storms blowing in and blowing away an event. So that seems to be a common thing we deal with.
Yeah, there's another memorable one. That was just the first one.
Oh, really? What's the next one?
My first big war I went to ended up being Gulf NATO. So it was Gulf War where we actually had tornadoes touch down, microburst tornadoes touch down during the event Thursday night. Actually, the tornado warning started just during Midrealm Court on Thursday night. They ended up ending the event early, but honestly, that it makes me teary just thinking about it, because there was so much devastation and property loss and things like that, but it really showed me the spirit of the SCA, because everyone banded together to make sure that everyone was physically okay. We only had a few people that went to the hospital with minor injuries. people were physically okay, giving up, their clothes, anything that they had dry, because everything was soaked. But people with dry clothes were sharing clothing, and it really showed me how much the SCA cares and is a family, that we can be different clans, we can be different groups, different kingdoms. It doesn't matter. When there's someone in need, we all pitch in to help.
It's one great big SCA family. I think that's
Yes, it is.
probably one of the best things about the SCA is they stick together, not just in local little groups, but in larger groups and across the country, across the world. They support each other quite a bit.
Well, and I have actually heard stories and watched, as I was going to big events, there are stories of people that see someone with an SCA sticker on their car on the side of the road and won't know who it is, but there's an SCA sticker, or someone has a shield out behind their truck, and they're broke down on the side of the road, and people will pull over and help because, well, you're another Scadian, you're going to war, you need help. That's what we do. I've heard of more than one story of people that have been on either the giving or receiving end of that, and it warms my heart.
Those are actually some of the best stories to hear. It just, like I said, it just shows the greater family in the SCA, so it makes us really proud.
It does.
So in your time that you've been with the SCA, you've been with us quite a while. Do you have something that you are particularly proud of, whether it's something you've made, something you've written, something you've achieved or received? What is something that really warms you and makes you proud to have accomplished?
I think the biggest thing right now that I am happy to see is I'm part of a group called the Known World Courtesans. It's a group that promotes historical sex worker personas through education and that type of thing. And it's been attempted to grow more so over the years, and being part of the leadership team now and one of the Middle Kingdom representatives of that group, and seeing us expand our reality of what life really was like for women historically. It wasn't always pretty. There were the dark undersides, or there were the fun parts of the dark undersides that people don't always want to talk about, and seeing that that become less taboo, seeing the interest blossom in the more accurate historical women's movements and how women got to where we are today. And so seeing that grow, and then from that also studies of other subjects that weren't as popular before, things like that's encouraging people to go into the study of death in history, mortuary sciences, women in the medical fields. And so there's a lot of things that I'm very excited to see growth of different study areas.
Sounds like it's opening up some subjects they're not traditionally studied by SCA groups, but it's educational material nonetheless, and so it gives more knowledge that perhaps we haven't touched on very much.
Well, it's not just even though that the knowledge isn't there in the SCA. It's that we're seeing SCA people pursue amazing historical research that even historians and archaeologists haven't delved as deeply into. So we're seeing some of the SCA people become, these amazing researchers and amateur archaeologists and anthropologists, and growing this growing the knowledge base as in general for all people, not just Scadians.
That's actually, I've seen a couple of reports where it was talking about some of the amateur research that's coming out of the SCA is actually being used by historians and such, because they're able to find it. Somebody's actually pursuing it. So that's something I think the SCA overall should be proud of. It's a pretty impressive feat.
One of my intense areas of study is first century Roman history. The most profound and well-known, very respected archaeologist on this topic is a woman named Mary Beard, and I am so proud of my Laurel actually has been asked for some of her notes and handouts of classes that she's taught to be during this time of, right now we're all in quarantine because right now we're in the COVID crisis is when we're recording this. Some fun things about Latin smack talk and these type of things are being used as fun handouts for some of Mary Beard's students. That was written by my Laurel, and it makes me so excited to know that I'm part of that lineage and I'm part of that excitement growing.
So it sounds like you've got actually a pretty expansive Laurel there, which kind of leads into the next question. Whether it's your Laurel or someone else, who is someone that has, really, really impacted you in the SCA?
It's really hard to pick one person. My Laurel has been very impactful. My Laurel is Lucretia Marcella. Yes, Lucretia and Lucretia spelled the same way, different time periods with different pronunciations, but we both do study Roman history. But there are so many people. Her Excellency Bella, one of our former queens, has become just a dear friend. And these people bring us so much. I have so many people that have become family. And, I love my blood family, but especially right now, because I have chosen family that is all across the world, and, missing them right now because we're canceling so many events. There are so many people that have made such an impact on my life. I miss them all, and I couldn't name everyone, honestly.
So there's lots of impact, lots of love there.
Every day. Everything from I'm sewing masks for people right now because back in the day, people made an impact and taught me how to sew. Those were Scadians. Every little thing the people that have taught me how to research, how to look things up. It wasn't high school teachers. They can only go so far. It's people in the SCA. So there's just so much knowledge base that people are so excited to share.
So when you're gathered around with people and you're, sitting around the campfire or hanging out with friends, what's a particular story that you like to share?
Well, I'm a Shadowin, which is kind of a newcomer's person. And one of my favorite stories actually only didn't happen at an SCA event, but it's because of the SCA that this story happened. My daughter has been born and raised in the SCA, and so she started going to events when she was 6 months old, and never really did a whole lot coming to classes and that type of thing. However, she was always around. Well, kids say the darndest things, and kids pick up more than you realize, because she was in high school. I believe it was her sophomore year of high school. And her history teacher was doing some things talking about Rome and ancient Rome and saying how they were so dirty and, how they were filthy and didn't know how to take care of themselves and didn't know anything about hygiene. And my daughter looked at him and said, "You're wrong." And he's like, "No, really?" She's like, "No, they actually bathed every day. They had perfume, they had cosmetics, they had a intense, knowledge of medicines and herbs and spices." And he's like, "No, they didn't." She's like, "Do you want the history?" I have the documentation. And she brought in, she was able to say, "Here's some resources," because yes, they did. And, knowing that, kids absorb so much, and she was able to, find that love and passion for history without it being, oh, it's that stuff that's taught in a book, just makes me so happy and so proud.
There's a lot that can be learned in the SCA. It's actually pretty amazing, the things that you can learn just being around, and the love of history that it instills in everybody that comes through. There's a lot of life lessons and a lot of other types of lessons that can be learned too. And what is a lesson that you would like others to learn from the SCA?
Ooh, that's a good one. I guess my big life lesson is, you don't know what someone else is going through. So love everyone. Give everyone a chance. You don't know what you're going to learn from someone. I have met so many people, and I've learned something from everyone. Sometimes it's just, I learned that guy's a jerk or that girl's a jerk. But that happens. However, for most people, we have so many passions, and the number of arts that I have learned, because my passion is people and then arts and sciences. I've done everything from learned how to bind a book to learned how to sew. I've learned booze making, everything from meads and cordials to hard alcohol. Whatever you want to learn, you can learn. And so the life lessons are all around you.
So in everything that you've learned and everything that you've done, what is it that you feel like you're known for in the SCA?
Honestly, I've asked my friends that. I'm known for making chocolate phalluses. It was a joke because winged Ficinium are a good luck symbol in Rome. And I'm sorry, I like chocolate. So a friend of mine thought it was absolutely hilarious and gave me a male organ chocolate mold. And so at one event, I brought golden dusted chocolates, and people thought it was hilarious. So I have become known for my chocolate phalluses.
Well, I guess that's unique to be known for.
But it associates with my study of Rome, because that's a good luck symbol of Rome. So, I guess it's not too bad.
Okay, well, we're getting a little close on time, so we'll move on to our last question here. And I always try to end with the same question, because we like to spread the love. We like to share more people that we're impressed with a greater audience. So if you could nominate somebody for a Meet the Populace interview, who would that be and why?
Baron Sammy, and honestly, I'll have to get you his full SCA name. He is doing amazing things, teaching classes on being transgendered in the SCA, and doing great things for promoting inclusivity and diversity in the SCA, along with a couple other people. We actually have an officer for that, but I'd nominate her too, but you only want one. So I have lots of people I could nominate, but right now, Baron Sammy is the first person that comes to mind that I adore the man, and he has done some amazing things.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that, and we'll send him a message and see if he'd be interested in being interviewed for Meet the Populace. So I want to thank you again for joining me tonight, and thank you to our audience. This has been Meet the Populace, and if you would like to nominate somebody for a Meet the Populace interview, please send their name to the email address at the bottom of your screen. Also, if you have any particular questions you would like to see asked, go ahead and send those in too. We're always accepting information. I do respond to all emails, so don't be shy. Send them on in. Thank you once again, Lucretia. It's been a true pleasure to have you on our show this evening.
Thank you for what you're doing to help people become more engaged during this hard time.
Thank you, and you have a good evening, and it was good to talk to you.
Mwah.
Mwah!